please take a moment to visit a local garden centre and treat your gardens, whether you're reseeding your patches in the lawns, whether you're carrying out some autumnal work, whether you're planting up bright summer containers. There's a whole host of different plant varieties that you can buy. Autumn is nature's time for planting. But before I start, it'd be great, please, if you could give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. There's loads of great videos coming up. Let's take a look at some nice flowering plants, and then I'm going to actually do a little bit of work and plant some containers at the same time. But you know, enjoying plants is one of the key things, and autumn colour goes really well. Now this is a little Solanum. We used to sell this in the industry as a we call it Jerusalem cherry, as a pot plant during Christmas. They're not edible, I hasten to add. They're not edible. It's purely for ornamental effect. And planted alongside other varieties, you start to get this beautiful, warm oranges. It's the colour of autumn. And I planted 5 years in my border. 5 years we had one of these growing. I put it in, and it was quite sheltered. And every year it came, and it had the little flowers, little white flowers, that then became these lovely orange fruits. So I'll plant that in a mixed containers with everything else. Now these, it's ornamental kale. Okay, again, it's a non-edible one. It's particularly bred and developed. Well, you can eat it, it just tastes horrible. But these have been particularly designed for their colour. Every garden should have sedums in, because it's a great late flower that's really good for pollinators. You can plant it in your mixed containers and shrubs, and of course when the containers gets a bit too big for the container, you can then plant it out into your border as well, but that makes a big difference. So sedums, there's many different varieties. Garden centres are packed with them now. Is there a price on this one? How much did it? $7.99 I paid for that. And you'll be having enjoyment of that plant for the next 2 decades. This particular variety of Hypericum, they call it Miracle. And there are different colours you can get with it. Here's the label. I chose this one because I really like the pink with the white. But there are many other varieties that you can get with different coloured berries. And Hypericums are really tough. It's a shrub you really want to plant out into your border. And you can imagine just a large specimen like this into the border. All masses of berries as well. Really brings the colour and the warmth into autumn. I'm going to plant this in one of the containers, which is really going to overgrow it in 2 years, but for this autumn and winter, combined with other flowering plants, it's going to give my pots a lift. And then when it comes into spring, summer next year, I'm going to plant it into my borders. Now this is a capsicum here. This particular one's called Joker, and it's you know, it's a form of peppers and chilies. They're ornamental, not edible, so it'll keep its fruits on for a long time, but it's really to look good, to give you that sort of like autumn feel. Now there's one here that we used to call them witch's fingers. Hold on a minute, I've got this one here. Have a look at that. This one is another variety of Joker, but look at the colour on that. Ooh, Halloween's coming. A couple of these planted into containers. Ooh. You know, I tell you, you get flowers and you get berries. This is Gaultheria procumbens. It's got these lovely oval leaves. Look at its flowers there, which later turn to these little berries, which then go rich colour like that. It's an evergreen. It's as tough as old boots, and put into the garden, you get a big result from this big berry plant. £5. They used to be really expensive, but now they're producing them on a much bigger scale. I think that's the best bargain that we've got here today. What a gorgeous little plant. Get out to the garden centre and choose one of these. You won't be disappointed. Now I've got some containers here that had some earlier summer plants, and I've taken them off, and I've put a bit of peat free in. I'm going to put a bit more into that. Now these are a couple of old containers that we've had for some time. You know, take a minute. I'm sure many garden centres wouldn't mind you bringing an old container with you into the garden centre for you to stand plants in to get an idea of what you've got. If not, just measure the diameter and then just place them on the floor of the garden centre so you can get an idea of what you want to achieve. And from the plants I talked to you about earlier on, I'm going to take a selection of these and plant these 2 pots up to give me a lot of colour outside the front door of my home, and it's the type of thing that's a great project for you to do over the weekend. Even better, to share the project with children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, your own kids, or whatever. It's a process that we should be encouraging children to grow at every opportunity we can. I usually start by choosing the bigger of the plants. I'm going to put this Hypericum in. It'll grow in this container maybe a year or two, but eventually get too big. But of course then I am moving a really good big size plant into my borders, and I think I'll put it into this container here. Let's move a little bit of the old peat free out of the way. I don't plant them right at the surface of the container because, you know, I've still got to water them, but all of a sudden that pot's starting to really look good. Now I want to actually offset some of the darker foliage with some light here from the Senecio. So I'm just going to put this one by the side here just to get that contrast going. I need a bit more compost in there. Take it from this pot and I'll top this pot up in a minute. Now I'm looking for some flower colour here. I've got berries in there already. Let's take the chrysanthemum here and get that into a nice position in the centre, and that'll just keep flowering around. As you can see, sometimes that's a little dry. Normally I'd absolutely saturate that before it goes into the pot, but on this occasion I'm going to put it into position and then give it a good water in later. I quite like, we'll try the little Gaultheria here, and I'm going to put it right on the edge so it's slightly trailing. I need more compost in here just to break that up around, a bit more peat free. Very therapeutic planting. There we go. I'll leave a little bit of space in between the plants because they'll naturally fill out, but really you want to get it looking good. Just I'm going to put some of these pansies in. But the secret with pansies, push up the bottom. I know that sounds a bit dodgy, but it helps just take out a little push at the base, and then you can get it out all in one go. And some little pansies in here for little violas rather, in here, just to give that little bit of extra colour, a bit more peat, just to go in. I can't resist it. I'm going to drop this little white, I'm going to do the white of the pink. This is what you do, you stand it in, all the different, I'm going to do the pink, just to offer it into position. Again, a little squeeze at the top, take that in, a little bit of compost move there, into position, and hey presto, that's one really lovely, colourful autumn winter container. Now, you get a lot of value on this show, of course. I'm not going to do one, I'm going to do another one as well. I've been told not to get any compost on the floor, so I'm already in trouble. Plenty of the peat free in there as well. Don't forget, compost always takes a moment to settle as well. I'm going to put the sedum in, a little squeeze at the bottom of the pot, so I know this container will be getting quite a few visits from the bees. Hebe elliptica variegata. It's finished flowering, but it's an evergreen, and it'll be a backbone of light coloured foliage to this one in slight contrast with the other. And because it's quite bright, I'm going to bang in some of the cabbages. There we are. Oh, you're a bit tough. There we go. Just around the edge here to give a bit of colour, a bit more peat free around. When you start pushing it down, of course, you've got to accommodate for the soil that was in the pot. Where's that lighter colour one? Let's have you in here as well. So I've got you in position as well. There we are. That's looking really, I'm really tempted. Do I put this one in or not? Yes, I think we'll put that little cyclamen in the front, this blue tint. Of course, it will eventually be white. I just need a bit more compost in there. There we go. A little bit of compost in the other side. And I think we're done there. Look at that. 2 containers there in what? In about 5 or 6 minutes. But that will be giving me colour throughout the autumn and well into the winter months. That is the beauty of containers. You can do just the same in any borders, baskets or window boxes you may have at home. Bring a bit of colour to put a smile on your face as the nights get darker and the winter draws in. And of course, with containers like this, a few Christmas baubles decorating them either side of the front door, and it doubles up to bring you cheer during the Yuletide period.